remember that last live that Lainey did? Remember that she was in the Mexican color.
She was, wasn't she? It says we are live on Facebook, Lainey.
Oh, fantastic. So you see it before I do. So hello, everybody. I am super, super excited to be spending a couple of minutes or 20 minutes or so with you coming up here on Saturday. And it's actually Sunday where you are. Live on Facebook. I'm in Mexico and I'm speaking with Devon, who is there with her lovely son in an early morning in Australia. And this is our continued commitment to supporting our world schoolers' mental health and well-being. And so this conversation today is going to be really, really fascinating. Devon is somebody that I spoke with during the virtual World Schooling Summit, and she spoke about health and wellness and meditation and so forth. And so she's taking that kind of approach to supporting our world schooling families' mental health and state of well-being. So welcome, Devon. Tell us just a teeny bit about your background before we get into some of these questions.
Sure, thanks, Lainey. Where do I even begin? I I work as a parenting coach right now online, and I come from a background of child and adolescent development, where I spent a couple of decades supporting young people and their families in incredibly extreme conditions, and having become a world schooler myself since the birth of my child 6 years ago, I am now turning my attention towards serving this community in whatever way that I can.
And I think that is just so incredibly lovely. And I've spoken with you in quite detail over the past, and I know that that is true. And I know that your passion for supporting this community and those that are living this alternative lifestyle really is an authentic passion. Again, I'm so grateful you said yes, because this is yet another approach to really taking care of our own well-being. And we've spoken with psychologists, and we've spoken with therapists, and we've spoken with counselors, and people from all different walks of life. And I would just say that there's not one right way or one precise formula. Everybody resonates to different approaches and styles and modalities and so forth. And again, I'm super, super pleased to be speaking with you today, coming from your background. So why don't we just jump in? I know you focus a lot on parenting and sort of addressing the communication and communication style between parent and child. And I think attention could speak about the communication, especially right.
Oh, Lainey, I just lost half of that. It went glitchy on me. Could you repeat the last bit that you said, please?
Sure, sorry. And I'm always struggling with my connection here, so I apologize. My question was, I was wondering if you could speak a few words about being mindful about the communication between parents and children, especially right now in a time of crisis.
Yeah, that's right, Lainey. Thank you so much. I mean, firstly, I just really want to send my heart out to our entire community and take this opportunity to just say, I see you and I hear you, and usually we've got people who are living their lives outside, living their lives out, doing and being and moving around freely. The value that we hold is all around freedom of movement, and to have that removed at this time is just it just absolutely pulls on my heart at the deepest level, and I just want to send that out, that I really get that, and I'm right here with you in it as well. I'm experiencing this myself, and yeah, my biggest and deepest sympathies and empathy is with you. But when it comes to answer your question directly, when it comes to communicating with our kids, I've got my biggest sort of foundational piece is what I call the radical truth in a non-dramatic container. And what this means is to, number one, to get really, really clear on what your own position and what our own position and our own truth is with regards to what we're experiencing right now. So I'm just going to have these, I've got some notes in front of me and my child wants to do some drawing. So I'll give him the pad and I'll take the notes. Yeah, so to get really clear on your position. So it might be spending, you know, even 5 or 10 minutes just having a quick look through the current media that you're absorbing and feeling into yourself saying, okay, is this a bit of a downward pull? Is this a bit of an upward pull? Where do I feel grounded and where do I feel more elevated and alive? And really recognizing which ones of those you resonate with, taking hold of whichever one it is, and then moving forward with that. When you've got a little bit of clarity, a little bit more clarity around what it is that's, you know, where it is that you're coming from, I then coach people in actually writing down 3 or 4 dot points on what your truth is and rehearsing it a couple of times in front of the mirror. You know, here's my position. Here's how I feel about it. If you're scared, you can say that you're scared. It's okay to say that to your kids. And, you know, but it needs to be done from a place of groundedness, from a place of as much calm as you can possibly muster in amongst the circumstances that you're facing right now. So you'd be mindful of your tone, you'd be mindful of your speed, and being able to rehearse it in front of the mirror, and even keeping a little cheat sheet of the 3 or 4 dot points that you make to be able to communicate your message is absolutely clear. You know, in doing all of this will allow your kids to have their space for their own feelings. So they don't have to have your feelings on the matter. They're going to have their own feelings, and they're going to be so different to yours, and they're going to be surprising when you actually find out what the things that they're actually really worried about. And it can actually be a source of relief when you find out the truth of what they're really worried about, as opposed to a mirror of your own fears and your own worries.
Can you share maybe some constructive ideas on being flexible when your feelings do change?
Absolutely. So I've got when I've got feelings going on. Do you mean how to address my feelings? Or yeah, okay. So in the moment when I'm addressing my own feelings, I've got these 4 fear melters that I go to. So usually when I've got my faculties about me, when I'm being the adult, when I'm not triggered into a reactive mode, I've got a different way of dealing with them. But if I'm triggered, if I'm in reactive state, I go to these 4, which are coached by a woman, Katie Hendricks, and she'll love that I'm sharing them as well. So the first one is, if I notice that I'm in a state of fear and I feel like fighting, because fight is a really normal reaction for fear, is to imagine like and we do this together, don't we?
Yeah, let's say
caramel sauce, ooey gooey caramel sauce dripping down all over our head, down through our body. Imagine it coming down. If you've got the fight, maybe your jaw is clenched or your fists are clenched, and you can imagine this ooey gooey caramel sauce all the way down, coming down through your jaw, coming down through your neck, down your arms, out your hands, and down through your body. And that's number 1 if you're feeling fight. And it can take less than 30 seconds, and you can do it with your kids. If you're feeling like, you know, I've got to get out of here, I've just got to go, I've got to leave, I've got to go now, which is another really normal fear response. The game that we like to play with that one, we call it kangaroo, because we're Australian. Yeah. So do you want to show them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I'll turn the computer around so you guys can see. The trick is to get down really low into your hips and to really move around the room like this, and just to bring the energy down really low, and to spend 30 seconds bouncing around like a kangaroo, bringing the energy of I've got to go, I've got to get out of here, I've got to escape, bringing that energy back down, and noticing afterwards how it is that you are addressing whatever problem it is that you're facing at that time. Back around. So that's 2. Number 3 of the fear melters was in response to, if you feel frozen, is another really normal fear response. Imagine an animal in the wild who's a predator is approaching. One of the really normal reactions is just to freeze. I can't move at all. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. And a simple physical response to that is just to, if you ever notice that happening, just to carefully and gently wiggle your fingers and your toes. And you can do it really slowly, or you can wiggle them fast.
I can wiggle them.
And we find that this is a good one to do in bed at night with kids. Just really gently squeezing and unsqueezing fingers and toes. And again, it's another 30-second practice. If you can do it for a full 30 seconds, it's going to make a really big difference to regaining mental control and clarity in a time of crisis and reactivity.
Now, these 3 exercises that you mentioned, are these a standard approach, or is it just do whatever feels right for expressing that emotion?
Well, in these, you will, once you start to practice these, and once you start to say, okay, I'm in fear, what is it? Am I am I wanting to fight somebody? And particularly when we're in close confines with family members, when we're used to being out and about and being active, you'll notice that either you have a tendency towards being frozen, you have a tendency towards fighting, and you will be able to then choose those in the moment.
So this is really a emotional intelligence and mindful practice that you're talking about, and then expressing it through the body. Now, does this help transmute or dissolve some of those feelings? And also, are there other positive, reactions as a family to that sort of expression?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a playful response that creates connection between families as opposed to a divide. Going off and journaling, and I love journaling, don't get me wrong, and I love meditating, don't get me wrong, but this is something that you can do together as a family, that creates connection, that creates trust, that models to kids and to partners, that we're in this together. We're not going to, we can't run away from each other right now. We're in this together. We're going to stay together, and we're going to work through this together.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And so what you've just shared are sort of exercises and models for sort of processing together as a family. Can you share any other sort of exercises for self-care that you could facilitate for your children?
Absolutely. So my favorite ones are my favorite response to any sort of crisis situation, to any disciplinary issue, to anything, is play. And what we'll be seeing right now, and I imagine anyone with younger children, but even teenagers, this will be the same for them as well, that we'll be noticing regression. We'll be noticing a tendency for our young kids in particular to become more clingy, to become more needy, to maybe even to want to play babies. Maybe you'll notice toileting regression, or speech regression, or all sorts of things where and this is a really normal physiological response. Kids who have been sleeping in their own beds for a long time might decide that they can't possibly not sleep in the same bed as you. and once again, even older kids. And I just want to say this is so normal and so healthy. This is such a healthy response. And the more we can play with this with our kids, the easier we're going to move through the next few weeks or however long this is going to take, and come out the other side more connected, more and as a tighter knit community and a more functioning family. And some of the ways I like to play are, you know, if my child wants to be a baby, I'm going to snuggle him up. He's 6. I'm going to snuggle him up and I'm going to be all like, Gucci, Gucci, go, look at my beautiful little baby, or look at his toes and his fingers, and do all of the things that I would do if he was a baby. And yeah, this can happen with kids of any age, to really play that. The other game that we really like, and that I would be encouraging lots of people to be playing, is doctors and nurses. If you can play doctors and nurses with your kids, that will lead on to, that will begin or open a dialogue for them to be able to create their own role-playing games, to explore the themes and any areas of confusion or anything that they need further information on, with you in a safe environment.
Yeah, that's beautiful advice. And it really exemplifies the concept of continuing to support secure attachments, especially when fear becomes something that's overwhelming in a child's mind. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions for tweens and teens that perhaps may be going inward and may be what appears, from the outside to be a shutdown or a going inward or blocking out? Do you have any thoughts about engaging in that kind of situation?
Yeah, well, once again, one is accepting that as a really normal and healthy process. That withdrawing process is so normal and so healthy, and just celebrating, you know, when you see your child doing it, the first thing, instead of going straight into worry, if you can, turn yourself around and make the first thing that you think about when you see them is to say, oh, he or she, he's processing. Oh, wow, look at my child over there. He's really going to this right now. He is really in the thick of this and he is working through something. Oh, I wonder how I could be of service to him right now. I wonder how I can help her through this, without approaching them, just by calming yourself, calming your own nervous system and asking those questions, and staying in close proximity, right? You're not moving away. You don't have to move towards either, but being there, being present, and remaining in your own power and your own self, holding positive regard for their well-being, is going to make a massive difference.
And I also find that modeling that behavior is something that they tend to notice when they're ready. Like, I will start sketching and scribbling and being playful with myself, and that creative energy always helps to model it's okay to process. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And to get to that space where you yourself can be creative like that and start doodling and sketching, we need to be able to be viewing the people around us as safe and well and okay, and just accepting that, yeah, everyone's going to have their own emotional responses to this, and they're all healthy and okay.
Yeah, and that's important. That's an important mantra. I know a beautiful mama named Fernanda who I actually met in Peru many, many, many years ago, and I believe she and her family are in New York. She has a question about routines versus just flowing through the day, and I'm assuming she's meaning now in this time of this very, very unique time, unlike any other time that we've experienced. She says that she finds it hard for her to have a routine, and she worries that in contrast to what her kids are used to, she may be then, that might not be helpful for her and her children. Do you have any thoughts or responses to her own worries about not being able to stay on routine?
Yeah, look, routine is so dear to my heart. I am the routine queen. I kind of, I run a business. I'm a sole parent to a child. I run everything on routines, but I base them, and especially in times of crisis, I pull back to the real bare basics. What are our waking times? What are our sleeping times? And what are our eating times? And I build a structure around those and bolster them. So mealtime has all of a sudden grown to this, sort of 2 hour, extravaganza. Our waking and our sleeping, the 2 hours at the start and end of each day have become really quite pronounced. And I've really plugged into those as anchor points throughout the day, because it is so easy to get to without our usual outward routine to lose the flow and to end up going into old patterns and panic and worry and concern. Whereas when we've got these anchor points, and I'm the start of the day, the end of the day, and the middle of the day, and we put a lot of focus and attention around those, and around our own natural rhythms wherever they are, I find that the spontaneity can still occur in between those, but we're well anchored and grounded around them.
And how would you recommend being in conversation with your children about mom or dad needing time for self-care right now? How do you frame that in such a way that our children see ourselves prioritizing our own well-being as well as honoring what they need?
Okay, brilliant question, and one that I've been grappling with absolutely, and testing and trialing within myself. And I think with young children, this is my latest thing with young children. I'm not expecting them to understand that I need time for myself. Like, it's just it doesn't need to be stated with young children. It just needs to be done, right? So we just take the time that we need, and we just do the meditations.
Can I tell you something?
Please come and tell me. Maybe Sid can speak to this one. Yeah.
Because then they'll get the hang of your routine, and then they'll understand it.
That's right. They'll get the hang of your routine, and then they'll understand it. So with my own meditation practice, I've just been claiming the space and just showing up every single day at the same time, doing the same practice. And yeah, look, there's complaints, absolutely, and I acknowledge and I hear those complaints, and I do it anyway, because my self-care is paramount. I'm no good to anybody else unless I'm taking care of myself. Having said that, with older kids, obviously you absolutely can talk to them about self-care. But once again, I'd be doing it in as few amount of words as possible and going for the modeling more.
And could you share some techniques that maybe you haven't touched on for adult self-care?
Oh, absolutely. So adult self-care, number one, the biggest thing for me has been accepting the unacceptable. So being unable to continue on my journey and moving around in the way that I had planned and had chosen to, I just had to surrender to that, just completely surrender. And as soon as I did, that's when I found a very peaceful sit spot. As soon as I stopped grappling with the "it's not fair, my plans have been ruined, what am I going to do now?" When I got out of that mental grind, I found some beauty and some peace. So accepting the unacceptable really was the key foundational piece. And the other one was about not squandering this moment, of pain, which is the Rilke quote. and using this as an opportunity to go inwards, using this as a time to create that meditation practice that you've always wanted to create, using this as a time to create that yoga practice you've always wanted to create, using this as a time to create the habit of journaling that you've always wanted to create. Whatever self-care practice you've always wanted to create, now is your opportunity to do it.
That's amazing. And what a beautiful reminder. Finally, did you have any other thoughts or ideas you'd like to leave with our community as we move forward, taking care of ourselves and our families?
I think I've said everything that I want to say, but I so open-heartedly welcome any questions or any comments. I just would love to be a part of this conversation. If anyone's, got some struggles that they're working through, I am so open and willing to explore in the Facebook page. And I just celebrate every single person who's watching this for being here. I mean, this is the powerful place that you're going to be creating all of the changes that you're going to be needing moving forward with this. So well done.
Thank you. And Devon, I'm going to go ahead and tag you when this is done, and I'm just going to have you put your projects and your links and all that stuff in this thread. So if you are watching this and you're resonating with approach, please connect with her. She is a heart-centered woman, and I absolutely adore her and feel so honored again that you said yes to popping in and supporting our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Lainey. Thank you so much. Such an honor.
You're very welcome. Bye, and enjoy your day.
We will. I'm going to enjoy our kitty too.
Bye.
Amazing. Have fun. Bye.
Bye.